what's going on, y'all? The Cool Teacher back. Equation season is back, and did I say equation season? Sound like I say equation. Equation season is back in session, and I'm gonna hit you off with a multi-step equation. And I don't think I've done one of those yet. And the reason I'm doing a multi-step equation because there's a whole bunch of steps, and a lot of people get confused to what do I do first, what do I do next, because there's so many steps to do. It's not a one step or a two step, it's multi-step. So I have to do a bunch of stuff, but you have to make sure you do it in order so that you do it right. All right, so let's go ahead and get a problem up here. Let's go ahead and do 2r minus parentheses 5 minus r equals 13 plus 2r. Alright, so first thing I'm going to do is the same thing that I was doing for all of my other equations, because just because this equation is a multi-step and it's longer doesn't mean we don't do some of the basic steps. Okay, so I'm still going to put a line down the equal sign. Ooh, hey, we gonna do that over again. We gonna put a line, a straight one, down the equal sign, or straighter. That's a lot better. All right, gonna put a line down the equal sign, and that's gonna separate my equation to both left and right sides. All right. Well, that is easier for you to understand when I'm telling you the left side of my equation or the right side of the equation, because the equal sign separates both the left and right sides. All right, so let's go ahead and start solving this. So I see a lot of stuff here. I see 3 R's. I see a parentheses, a couple negative or minus signs, and then I see plus signs. And I know you're like, what do I do first? Well, when I'm looking at this problem, what I want to do first is get rid of my parentheses, okay? So you're probably looking like, oh, get rid of the parentheses? All right, that means I have to distribute. And if you know that, that's great that you know that. But if you're thinking you distribute the 2R, you're mistaken. You don't distribute the 2R. You always distribute what's right outside the parentheses. So you're probably thinking, yeah, the 2R is to the left. It's right outside of it. Actually, no. This negative sign is right outside the parentheses. And that's what I'm going to distribute to my 5. And that's what I'm going to distribute to my R. So I know you're probably thinking, how do I distribute a negative? Well, if you can't understand distributing a negative, try to make it a -1, because 1 is not going to change the numerical value of anything, because anything times 1 is going to stay the same number. Okay, but the fact that it's a negative might cause my signs to change. All right, so I'm going to distribute the negative, not the 2R, not this. I'm distributing the negative. All right. When I distribute the negative to 5, and remember, when I distribute, basically I'm multiplying, okay? So let's act like this is a -1. So I'm going to distribute the negative to 5, so it's a negative times 5, or -1 times 5. It's going to give me a -5. And when I distribute the negative to a negative R, I'm going to get a positive R. If you remember your signs when you multiply or remember your rules, if you multiply a negative times a positive, I get a negative, because this is a +5. If I multiply a negative times a negative, I get a positive, okay? So after I do that, I'm just going to bring everything else down. So I'm going to bring down my 2R. I'm going to bring down my equal sign. I'm going to bring down my 13. My positive 2R also gets brought down. All right, so now is when I start looking at the sides of the equation. Okay, the reason I want to look at the sides of my equation is because I have 3 terms on the left, 2 terms on the right. When I have multiple terms, I want to see if I can combine any terms that are like. Okay, and looking here on my left hand side, I have my 2R and my positive R. Both of those are like terms, so I'm going to combine them. Okay? Now, when I say I'm going to combine them, combine is synonymous with adding. So I'm basically going to add them together. So my 2r and my positive r, or 1r, those two are going to combine to give me 3r because I'm adding them together. This is like a 1 here, okay? It's almost like a 1r plus 2r. Now I'm going to bring down my -5. And what kind of 3r is this? Well, I added these together, and there's no negative signs there, so it is a positive 3r. Bring down my equal sign, and then I'm going to bring down my 13 plus 2r. When I looked over here, there weren't any like terms. I can't combine these two because this has a variable, this doesn't. Okay? So now I'm getting closer to my answer. You can see the equation is basically shrinking. All right? So now I only have 2 terms on this side, 2 terms on this side. All right? Now, from those 2 terms, I have a variable on this side, I have a variable on this side. All right? When I solve an equation, I only need 1 variable. I don't need 2. So I want to get rid of one of the variables. Okay? Now, here's where I start my legit equation process, where I have to do the inverse operation to go ahead and start to solve, and whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. So I'm going to get rid of the least variable. This is a 3r, this is a 2r. Both of them are positive, so this is going to be the least one. So how do I get rid of this? Well, this says plus, so I have to go ahead and subtract. And whatever I do to one side, I make sure I do it to the other side. Okay? So when I do that, I'm going to get something new. Let me go ahead and put my line. And a positive 2 and a negative 2 are going to cancel out. Okay? Bring down my 13, bring down my equal sign, and then I have 3 minus 2. It's basically going to give me 1r. But do I need that 1? I do not. So what am I going to do? I'm going to erase it. Didn't mean to erase everything, but that happened. So I don't need 1r, the number 1 and an r. I just need to write 1r. Okay? And that is a positive because it's 3 minus 2. Positive, and I'm going to drop down my -5. Okay? We can see how this equation is basically shrinking and getting easier and easier each time. All right? So from here, remember, I want to get the variable by itself. The variable is r. I need to get whatever's on the side with r off. So here, I see I have a -5 on the side with my r. How do I get rid of that -5? Well, if it's a -5, I have to do the inverse operation, which means I have to add 5. Okay? Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. Remember, the equal sign separates the sides, so plus 5 on this side, I have to go to the other side of my equal sign and add 5. All right? Pretty sure you guys are getting the hang of this, of how to do it. All right? These are opposites, -5 and +5. Opposite signs, same number, means they're going to cancel out to 0. And I'm going to bring down my r, bring down my equal sign, and here I have 13 plus 5. What is 13 plus 5? 18! Oh, snap. Y'all know it's 18? All right, cool. Glad you guys know that out there. So, basically, what I get is that r equals 18. This is my answer. All right? So that's how I solve a multi-step equation. Looks like a lot when you first see the problem, but just start breaking it down step by step. If you have a parentheses, go ahead and distribute whatever's on the outside of the parentheses in. Then look to see if you can combine like terms on either side of your equal sign. At that time, if you have a variable on both sides, go ahead and get rid of the least variable. And once you get rid of the least variable, you're going to be stuck with either a one-step or two-step equation, which you know how to do. Get rid of the terms that are on the side with the variable. Sooner or later, that variable will be by itself, and then you will have your answer when the variable is fully by itself, and it's going to equal something. All right. If If you have any questions, please go ahead and write down below. I don't even want to say, I always want to say I comment a question. That doesn't sound right though. If you have a question, go ahead and write it down below. Also, like, comment, well, I already told you to comment, right? Like, subscribe, share. Yeah, like, subscribe, and share. And comment if you have a question. Or if you just want to say, hey, cool teacher, this is a type video. Go ahead and say, hey, cool teacher, this is a type video. And that'll be straight too. I'll appreciate that. Matter of fact, if you write that down, I'll even like it. All right? This is the Cool Teacher, and I'm out.